Billy Castle, a professional stuntman who thrives on risk. Now while vacationing at a resort, he's bungee jumping with his friends Eric Anderson and Mike French. Without his dose of adrenaline, Billy doesn't feel alive. His friends who work as brokers aren't nearly as reckless, yet during the jump they start to understand Billy's dependence on the thrill. Later, the guys head to a bar and order drinks. At some point they notice a stunning woman dressed in a white gown. Suddenly another patron starts bothering the woman, and Billy without hesitation punches him. After that, the woman asks him to dance. There's an instant spark between them. She introduces herself as Angel. She recently arrived from Norway. They go up to the hotel room where she's staying. Angel pours him a drink. Their conversation doesn't last long, because passion ignites between them immediately. In the morning Billy's friends drive off in his car without him. Mike has an important meeting he can't miss. Billy wakes up in the hotel room with a splitting headache and a blank spot in his memory. Seeing a scar on his abdomen, he starts screaming in panic. Then barely crawling to the phone, he manages to call an ambulance. He's rushed to the emergency room. Detective Como, following the gurney, asks on the move what happened the night before, who he was with at the bar. Billy remembers only the woman he had just met, and his friends. He's taken into surgery immediately. Dr. Lucy Flynn tries to comfort him, saying that people can live a full life with one kidney. Judging by the precision of the incision, a professional surgeon must have been involved, which clearly points to organized crime. Billy struggles to recall anything at all, but all he gets are disjointed fragments. Dr. Flynn strongly advises him to see a psychologist. But Billy doesn't need a psychologist, he just wants his kidney back. The doctor explains that a kidney can survive outside the body for no more than 48 hours, which means it's already been transplanted to someone else. From now on, Billy will have to give up all his bad habits, follow a strict diet and abandon extreme sports. He won't even be able to continue his professional work, stunt performance. He'll be discharged soon. Dr. Jonathan Cross gives him final instructions and wishes him luck. Mike picks Billy up from the hospital. He returns home. Now even the slightest noise makes him paranoid. What if those people came back to finish what they started? His girlfriend Patty visits him regularly, but Billy is no longer the same. He used to be full of energy, always ready for adventure, but lately everything has changed, and it couldn't help but affect his relationship with Patty. More and more often, he prefers to be alone. Billy is haunted by nightmares. His voicemail fills with messages from Patty, Eric, and Mike, but Billy ignores them all, as if ashamed of himself. He used to be a macho man, living for pleasure, doing whatever he wanted. Now it feels more like a miserable existence. From time to time, Billy keeps in touch with Detective Como, but there's still no progress. Everyone already knows from the news what happened to Billy, and they mock him for it. The police haven't found anything yet. Despite everything, Billy is determined to return to stunt work, and on set he attempts a car stunt. But because of the pain in his abdomen, he fails. Billy is forced to admit defeat. He goes to the hospital to confront Dr. Flynn for calling his boss. But she only did what she thought was right, worrying about her patient's condition. Dr. Flynn advises him to join a support group for victims of violent crimes. Billy does as she suggests. He listens as a woman named Cassie, who leads the group, shares her story. She survived an attack. After that, Cassie's life was never the same. Billy can't bring himself to participate in the session and leaves. He eventually finds the strength to meet up with his friends, pretending everything is fine, that life goes on. Against the doctor's orders, he drinks alcohol. Suddenly a woman approaches their table, making Billy flinch. It turns out they met a month ago at a party. Billy had promised to call her, but never did. Fragments of that fateful night come rushing back to him. The alcohol makes Billy nauseous. No, obviously he can't keep pretending everything is fine. Mike scolds him for being careless. Billy meets personally with Sheriff Webster, who is responsible for security at the resort. However, the sheriff shows little interest in the case, insisting that crimes in this town are rare. Half the bar saw Billy completely drunk, and only his fingerprints were found in the hotel room. But Billy insists that he needs to talk to the woman who called herself Kathy. Sheriff Webster finally gives in and tells Billy that he'll find answers at the top of the mountain, accessible by the old road. Karen Nordhoff, daughter of a wealthy local family, the woman Billy knows as Angel, usually patrols the cycling trail. Billy steals someone's bike and heads that way. He immediately confronts Karen, demanding to know what part she played in it. The woman swears she had nothing to do with it. She only lied to the police and took money to lure him into the room. But Billy doesn't believe her. At that moment she pushes him away, grabs her bike and tries to flee, but Billy quickly catches up. He won't leave until he learns what really happened that night. Karen admits that a man had called her, introducing himself as Billy's friend. The man said Billy didn't like drinking alone, and Karen was offered good money to keep him company. She never saw the person she spoke with on the phone. Karen received the keys to a prepaid hotel room in advance, along with a bottle of expensive champagne. That's all she knows. Billy goes around to every liquor store in town, trying to find the names of everyone who bought that brand of champagne. This leads him to Dr. Armand Paris. Billy visits the clinic for a scheduled checkup. Dr. Flynn discovers that his stitches are inflamed because of a foreign object inside the wound, a contact lens. Then we see a scene in the bar of a random hotel. An attractive woman starts flirting with a man. They strike up a conversation, and she invites him to her room. There, she offers him a glass of expensive champagne. After the very first glass, the man loses consciousness. The woman quickly leaves the room, and a minute later 2 men enter, turning the bed into an operating table. The anesthesia takes effect, and 2 female surgeons begin the operation. But this time something goes wrong, and the unwilling patient's heart stops. Billy meets Dr. Flynn for coffee. She hands him the contact lens that was found inside his wound. It was probably dropped during the surgery. Billy asks if one doctor could have performed such an operation alone. She replies that in a hotel, absolutely not. At least 2 specialists would have been required. Billy goes to the police and tells them about Dr. Paris, but no one seems to care. He realizes he'll have to handle this himself. He finds Paris's car and punctures a tire. Then Billy finds Dr. Paris himself and immediately attacks him. The man tries to explain that his credit card had been stolen some time ago. He even filed a police report. Besides, he's merely a doctor of English literature. Dr. Paris threatens to call security, but Dr. Jonathan Cross intervenes. He knows Billy and diffuses the situation. They go for a short walk. Dr. Cross advises Billy to leave the investigation to the police. He also warns that if the first kidney doesn't take after the transplant, the criminals might come back for the second one. For trespassing and disorderly conduct, Billy is detained by the police, but Mike posts his bail. Because of this, Mike misses an important meeting. He tells his friend to stop this madness and finally let the past go, but Billy can't. He returns to the support group and openly shares his story. The other members can't hold back tears as they listen. He cries too. He knows that people can live perfectly well with one kidney, but it wasn't his choice, it was theirs, those psychopaths. Cassie gives Billy a comforting hug. He feels himself losing control. In fact, Billy and Cassie know each other, but they haven't seen each other in 2 years. When Cassie suffered the brutal attack, Billy was already gone from her life. Yet the tragedy didn't turn her bitter. She's been learning to trust people again. On his way home, Billy nearly gets hit by a car. Whoever was driving clearly did it on purpose. The man returns to the police station once more, but Detective Como tells him there's nothing he can do. The police aren't interested in the case, they're just going through the motions. The next morning Billy and Eric go for a run. Eric suggests that the whole thing might involve either third world countries or the rich. Either way, the truth will likely never come out. Eric jokes that maybe Mike was the middleman. How else could he afford a new car and a big house? Since the police refuse to listen, Billy goes back to Dr. Flynn. The only piece of evidence they have is the lens, and even that wasn't accepted by the police. Lucy mentions that the sutures were thicker than usual. She promises to send them for analysis. Maybe it will lead to something. Billy invites her to dinner. After all, he's no longer her patient. She agrees. When Billy finds out that Lucy wears contact lenses, he tenses up instinctively. The woman smiles and says that millions of people wear them. The man asks how she got into medicine. Lucy explains that her mother had been gravely ill. She had felt completely helpless back then, and ever since had promised herself to help others. Everything between them happens quickly, and that same night they give in to passion. Early in the morning as Lucy leaves for work, someone attacks Billy right in his own home. He chases the intruder but they escape in a black car. On the floor, Billy finds a syringe, meaning those people came back for his second kidney. He immediately brings the syringe to the police, then rushes to the hospital, but Lucy isn't at her workplace. Moreover, she ignores his calls. He can't understand where his beloved has disappeared to. Not knowing who else to turn to, Billy invites Cassie over and tells her what happened. He believes the attacker was a woman, but he isn't entirely sure. The police have promised to come as soon as they can, but that promise hardly inspires confidence. When an acquaintance at a bar makes a cruel joke about his scar, Billy punches him. The first thing he does afterward is find out which clinics in the city could have had access to his blood tests, and he goes to the first one on the list. There, he recognizes a woman, one of the 2 surgeons who had performed the underground operation on him at the hotel. The woman runs away, but he manages to steal her ID card and later arrives at her address. The door is locked, and Billy breaks into the house, where he finds the woman dead. He immediately calls the police. But Detective Como doesn't believe his story, thinking Billy is delusional. At last he finds Lucy at work and demands to know why she's been avoiding him. Could she have been the woman who broke into his house and attacked him last night? Lucy admits she's just afraid of serious relationships after her last failed one. But she has managed to find out something important. Billy's stitches were thicker than usual because that type is commonly used in prisons, not hospitals. It's cheaper. That means the second surgeon could have been a prison doctor. Lucy shows how happy she is to see Billy, but after that meeting, she disappears again. Billy goes insane with worry. Suddenly he gets a voicemail from Dr. Cross, who wants to talk about Lucy Flynn. Mike stops him on the road, saying that the large sum of money he received didn't come from stocks. For a moment Billy thinks he's talking about his kidney, but it turns out Mike simply inherited the money from his grandmother. He hadn't mentioned it earlier because he didn't want to admit he hadn't earned it himself. Dr. Cross says that another person has been found without a kidney, though it happened in a different hotel. And it turns out Flynn was the one requesting blood tests from the victims. They head to the home of the latest victim. There, it becomes clear that Jonathan Cross also wears contact lenses. Suddenly Lucy appears, aiming a gun at Jonathan and accusing him of everything. They start blaming each other, and at one point Lucy fires, ending Jonathan's life. All this time Lucy had been behind the kidney abductions. And now she'll have to make sure Billy stays silent. He can't believe that the woman he fell in love with turned out to be a monster. But Lucy sees it differently. She takes from the rich and gives to the poor. A woman from Luxembourg would have died without Billy's kidney. There's a boy in Mexico who needs a second kidney, and Lucy intends to take it. Dodging her shots, Billy takes off running. Lucy chases him in his own car. He escapes through the woods and ends up cornered at the edge of a cliff. The woman points the gun at him, and in that moment he jumps. Lucy is devastated, thinking Billy is dead. But, thanks to his stuntman skills he survives, clinging to a branch. Hearing a noise, Lucy comes closer to the edge. Billy grabs her leg and she slips, but he manages to catch her by the wrist. Lucy's hand slips out of his, and she falls. Billy climbs back up to the top. Soon after, he returns to the film industry. He eventually finds love in Cassie. Mike and Eric remain his loyal friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.